Hi and welcome. It's Paranormal Path Peeps, and tonight we have Preston Dennett. How are you doing, Preston?
I'm doing well, doing pretty good. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. I read your bio. Wow, that's impressive. So you do paranormal, you do ufology, and astral projection as well.
Yes, I've found all of this stuff is connected. I kind of started with UFOs, but the paranormal came right on the heels of investigating UFOs and started having out of body experiences around the same time. Realized all this stuff is connected for sure.
Wow. So, what was your first experience of something, be it UFOs or be it paranormal?
My first paranormal experience was around, let's see, I was probably around 12 years old, maybe as young as 9, around there.
Wow.
Definitely before I was a teenager. And I was watching TV with my sister, my older sister, Victoria. She's 1 year older than me. I actually have 5 brothers and sisters, but we were
Wow.
alone in the living room watching a game show, which I think was called Treasure Hunt.
Okay.
And, I'd never had any paranormal experiences, never really thought about it, was actually kind of skeptical of it. Uh, but at this point, we're watching TV, and suddenly I looked in the audience, and I just knew who was going to be picked to be on the show because they, pick someone from the audience. And I'm like, Victoria, they're going to pick that lady. And they did. And we laughed. And then she had to pick like one of 3 canisters, which had the flowers in it. I'm like, it's going to be the one on the right. And it was. And we laughed. And then the whole kind of climax of the show was there's some 50 or 100 boxes on stage of all different sizes, all enclosed. And one of the boxes held a check for, I think it was like $50,000, a lot of money. And I turned to Victoria. I said, I
Yeah.
know which box has the check in it. Yeah, I know which box has the check in it.
Oh my
I
gosh.
don't remember. Yeah. She's looking at me. She's like, really? I'm like, yeah, I do. And I don't know how. I just knew. And I told her it was, I remember it was a higher number. Like, I don't remember which number actually, but I knew which box it was. It was a bigger box. And I'm like, it's that
Wow.
box. It's that box. It's that box. And the lady did not pick the correct box. And after she,
Oh my
guessed
gosh.
wrongly, they said, no, the check is actually in this box. And they opened it up. And we just rolled on the ground laughing because we thought this was the funniest thing. And I wasn't even thinking psychic. I just thought, wow, I knew the answers to every question they asked throughout it was a half-hour show. That was my first psychic event.
That's absolutely awesome. But have you gone ahead and gone on to these shows?
Yeah, I should probably go on one of these
Have
game
you
shows.
tried to go on to these shows? Yeah,
uh,
you should.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I did try to get on Wheel of Fortune once. I mean, it was kind of a school project, and everyone in the class sort of applied, and I did not get on. But something I've always wanted to do. I think it would be fun. Uh, going on Jeopardy or something. But
Yeah.
yeah, every now and then I've had precognition. Well, actually, a lot later on in life. I've had a lot of dreams which come true, clairvoyance, visions.
Wow.
But really, in the beginning, no, I didn't. I was, all the way up to about age 19. I was very skeptical. I got very, very interested in science, and I was going to college, and I really enjoyed astronomy and anthropology and philosophy. I
Wow.
found very interesting. Biology was one of my favorite classes. I'm like, wow, the human body, it's so interesting. So I was
Oh,
very,
that's
very much,
brilliant.
science based in my thinking, very analytical, very materialist. If I wanted to see it for myself, and I
Yeah.
did not believe in UFOs. I just didn't. This because I knew from studying astronomy how far away the stars were, and that it
Yeah.
would take, thousands of years using the technology that we have to travel between the stars. And it just didn't seem feasible to me. I'd heard of people talking about UFOs, but I thought that they were either lying, hallucinating, or misperceiving.
Yeah.
And I later found out, of course, that this is what the Air Force wanted people to believe. Here in the US, they had put forth debunking explanations saying if you see a UFO, it's either a hoax, a hallucination, or a misperception.
Yeah.
And
That's it.
yeah, I bought into that until November 17, 1986. I remember the day exactly.
Wow.
And yeah, again, I was watching TV. Probably shouldn't be watching so much TV. But it changed my life 180 degrees. This UFO report came in the news about a sighting over Alaska.
Yeah.
And it was a very short news report, honestly, about a pilot who'd said he'd seen a UFO. And they showed his picture. They mentioned he'd seen a UFO. And they laughed about it. They joked. One of the newscasters turned to the other, "Hey, have you ever seen a UFO?" "Oh, no, I haven't." And they moved on. And I thought, wow, that poor pilot, he's going to lose his job, I bet, because who would ever hire a pilot who thinks he's seeing UFOs? He must,
Exactly.
he must be crazy or mentally unbalanced or lying or
Yeah.
misperceiving. And he did lose his job, I found out later. This is actually
Oh,
yeah,
that's crazy.
tragic.
That's
And
right. It's a question how many people have actually seen things and they don't mention it because of their sort of career, really. Like,
yeah, a lot, I
I
think,
bet there's loads.
especially pilots. And yeah, I later found out it was a quite well verified sighting. I mean, he wasn't the only one who saw it. His whole crew did. This was a commercial airliner. It was on their radar. The FAA, Federal Aviation Administration, also captured it on radar, which they later denied, calling
Yeah,
it they called it split
of
images.
course.
But there were ground witnesses. It was a great case, and it interested me
Wow.
just barely enough to make me think about UFOs more seriously. And I started asking people. And boy, Jacqueline, did I get a shock when I found out that, let me see, my brother had seen one. My sister-in-law saw one. Later, she told me she saw gray aliens. She didn't reveal that right away.
Oh,
My
wow.
my other sister-in-law also saw ETs, little short blue beings. I had a friend who was a pilot, a flight instructor. She had a sighting. Another friend had a sighting. He had missing time. Uh, another friend. Uh, Later, my sister, my little sister, I brought it up at work, and the lady I'd worked with for years says, "Yeah, me and my whole family." She described this incredible sighting. And in walks Dorothy, another person I worked with. She says, "Oh yeah, one followed me home from the library. Me and my best friend and my mom." She says, "It's really weird, Preston. We live 5 minutes from the library, and when we left at 9, I know we left at 9 because we walked out when the library closed. We drove home. This UFO followed us over our car. We went inside, and it was 10:15. They'd lost an hour of time."
Oh my gosh.
And she had no idea what that meant, but I did because I had started reading books on this by that point. Missing time is a sign that you've been taken on board because some people do not remember. Their memory is suppressed to some degree, often. So, yeah, it hit home for me. I was pretty upset. It was not good news because I could not believe it, but at the same time, I couldn't deny it. Every single one of these people I talked to were people I loved, people I trusted, people I know weren't lying to me. It was clear to me they weren't misperceiving. Every single one of them, all of them, had other witnesses with them. Every single one of them. So they weren't alone. I kind of always thought, someone who sees a UFO, they're alone. No, they weren't. It was pretty distressing.
That's amazing. It really is.
Yeah.
Michael Kennedy said it's backed up, radar and denied. You can find the FAA investigators' testimony on Dr. Stephen Gray's testimonies.
Yes, I actually did talk with one of the guys who was involved in that Alaska incident. Really nice guy, and he was instrumental in making sure that this incident got publicized and not covered up, because they did try to cover it up. I'm glad that pilot went forward, pilot Kenju Taroshi, because his bravery, his courage to step forward changed my life, completely changed my life.
That's brilliant.
And it kind of ripples each
Yeah.
You smile at one person, they will smile at someone else. And if you inform someone, they will inform. I ended up writing 28 books, 100 articles.
That's just so awesome, because I'm trying to write one book. It's a complete nightmare. It really is. I guess once you've done one, you're fine. But
yeah,
I
it
bet
gets
you've
easier.
spoken to so many people, haven't you, and got their testimonies and accounts and things like that.
Yeah, I was obsessed because when I found out UFOs were real, like I said, it was kind of upsetting for a number of reasons. First of all, it sounded quite scary. I
Yeah, it is.
was really a little bit frightened by the reports I was hearing, because this sounded like people were being kidnapped against their will and taken on board UFOs and experimented on by bug-like ETs.
Yeah.
Which turned out not to be exactly what was happening. I mean, yes, they're being taken on board, but I don't think it's nefarious. There was a lot of very fear-based thinking and reporting on this, which isn't warranted.
Yeah, we don't know, do we? It's only like the person who has had the experience and actually what they remember of it.
Yeah, and it can
And
be
it's
very
their
scary.
testimony, isn't it?
Exactly. And I thought it
Otherwise,
was.
it's like Chinese whispers, otherwise, isn't it? He says, she says, and then like they just make it up, and then yeah, whole
Yeah,
description changes.
yeah, it was very distressing. Not only because at first I thought it sounded bad, but then I realized it wasn't. But there was actually a cover-up, a government
Yeah,
cover-up, a worldwide cover-up. That was really upsetting, to find out that there were people who were taking my tax dollars, your tax dollars, our money
yeah,
to cover this up when they knew full well it was real. That was really upsetting to me. And that they
yeah,
were lying about it and, pushing forth this fear-based alien threat narrative, when really a lot of encounters, most, were quite benevolent, and people were being healed. People were being given tours of the solar system. Honest to God, I mean, this sounds like science fiction, but it's not. This is 100% real. Anyone who's
that's
skeptical of
brilliant.
UFOs, yeah, if you're skeptical, here's a few challenges for you. I dare you to ask your family, friends, and coworkers, people you love and trust, if they've had an encounter. I think you'll be surprised. And I dare you to look at the evidence
Yeah,
objectively, and you will find that there is an enormous number of eyewitness testimonies. There are photographs and films. There's radar returns. There's more than there's several thousand landing trace cases where these objects land on the ground and will leave, burns on the ground, or radiation readings, or indentations. There's an enormous amount of evidence, medical evidence. Like I said, lots of healing cases. Animal effect. Animals will react to UFOs. They
yeah,
can sense them before humans often. This is how
yeah.
people
They
will.
have great senses, don't they? So yeah,
Yes, all
and
kinds of evidence. So this is absolutely a real phenomenon. People are being taken on board, and it's much more widespread than people realize.
yeah. I did. I know Greg and Dana Newkirk, Hellier, and they did a series, and they were like communicating with something, and they think it was like UFO sort of alien side of things that they're sort of making communications with. And it
Yeah,
is mind blowing, because you don't actually know what you're communicating with. Like from our paranormal perspective, to say like it's the spirit we communicate with, but it could be aliens. we don't quite know, do we?
Yeah, well, I think sometimes we figure it out because ETs do communicate telepathically, and
Yeah,
so do spirits. This is how mediumship works.
yeah,
So people are communicating with spirits, absolutely, through telepathy. And some spirits will, be kind of deceptive. Not because not all, human beings are nice people,
yeah, that's right.
and some are earthbound souls and can,
Yeah,
sort of lie about their identity. And with ETs, they will usually identify themselves, and so will spirits for that matter. But when someone's taken on board a craft or has face-to-face contact, as a general rule, they communicate telepathically.
right.
And I do think people are having contact with many different types of entities, for sure. I
Yeah,
mean, people can channel spirits, and there are
yeah.
people who channel ETs as well.
Wow, that's impressive.
I keep seeing an
That is-
orb going across
Have
my
you
ceiling.
got got something going on?
Oh, all right. There's someone behind me. That's why.
What, a human?
Yes, yes.
Oh, fine. Okay.
There freaks me out. I'm like, whoa, what is that light? So, yeah, I have seen orbs myself personally, just so you know. I think we're having internet problems, Jacqueline. You're frozen.
But we will try and carry on through this.
All right. I think we're
And
back.
I hope this communication. So we're UFOs be a drone from another planet or universe and not manned? What's your opinion on this?
Yes, I think probably some of them are unmanned and are what we would think of as a probe. Uh, Particularly if people see a small, tiny little orb-like object, uh, it's very likely. I mean, could possibly be a probe. I think most of these larger craft we're seeing do have ETs inside of them. And I think that's demonstrated by the fact that there are portholes and people see the silhouettes of
Yeah,
ETs, or when these objects land, ETs come out of them. But
right.
absolutely, some of these are probes. I am not sure that they would be unmanned all the way from another planet, because it's my understanding that these ETs have overcome. I mean, they don't travel like we do. They're not using propellants to travel, from star to star at near light speeds. They instead travel interdimensionally, and in, based somewhat like
Yeah,
Star Trek, perhaps, or Star Wars, uh, where they are able to. I think this is a simplistic explanation, but they're bending space or traveling through what we would think of as a portal,
yeah,
kind of. Not so much a wormhole, or
right.
but
It's just so hard, isn't it?
yeah. Our understanding of this is still, we're in the learning stages
It's
with a
mad.
lot of
Yeah,
this. I mean, let's face it,
yeah,
UFOs, while they've been around for a very long time, have not been studied. Uh, you know, I mean, it's really 1947, the modern age of UFOs, when people started paying attention to this phenomenon, and
yeah,
we're still dealing with a cover-up to this day. So, UFO research has been suppressed and really interfered with. It's very, very difficult to move this subject forward and
yeah,
publicize it, and help people understand what's going on here, because our own governments keep are not being truthful. or transparent on this subject.
That's correct. Yeah, definitely. Like, do you think the human race is ready? Like, do you think some people could actually deal with this?
I personally do think we're ready. I do.
Right. Okay.
For a number of reasons. Sure, there are going to be some people who are going to be pretty upset. I mean, we know
Yeah.
that there are people who are profoundly skeptical,
Yeah.
and there are people who are perhaps profoundly religious.
Yeah.
And there are people who have just never thought about this. And that segment of the population, I think, is going to have a little bit of an adjustment period. But now
Yeah.
you say the word UFO, there's probably not a person on this planet who does not know that term. Everybody has heard of UFOs.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. That's it.
it's saturated our culture. I mean, this is the number one trope in science fiction. This is,
Yeah.
the top 10 grossing movies. I think half of them feature aliens or ETs. Video games. I mean, it's in advertising. There's a new
Oh
commercial
yeah.
for the Kit Kat bar. Aliens are taking,
Yeah.
yeah, ETs in advertising, and it's everywhere in every form of media. And over 10% of people on this planet have had an encounter, have seen UFOs. And I think it's probably a lot larger than that. I heard a quote from J. Allen Hynek. And if you don't know who Hynek is, he was part of Project Blue Book, which was the U.S. Air
Right.
Force's official, put that in quotes, UFO study. And he was this astronomical consultant, and he became so upset with how they were debunking UFOs and not treating them seriously that he defected from Blue Book. He quit and became
Wow.
one of the first mainstream scientists to study UFOs seriously, wrote, 3-5 books on this subject, co-wrote some. And he said that, get this, 1 in 40 people have had an onboard experience.
My gosh. Wow.
Right? That's exactly what I thought. I read this very early on,
Oh my God.
uh, and I thought,
So when
no,
was this?
no.
Sorry, what year is this set in?
I read this in like late 1980s, 88,
My God.
89, which was right when I was really starting to investigate this. And I thought, no, 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 no way. 1 in 40, that would mean I know,
Yeah,
someone who's been
definitely.
taken on board. Because I know, we all know 40 people. I mean, I would say most
Well,
of us.
exactly. Yeah.
And so that's what I started doing. That's what, I had asked my family and a few other people, friends, but I started asking everybody, family,
Yeah.
friends, coworkers, friends of friends. And I didn't have to ask 40 people, Jacqueline, before I found like 5 people who had been taken on board. And I ended up, I was buying all the books, joining UFO organizations. So what
Wow.
I did was I surveyed all the major researchers, people like Bud Hopkins and David Jacobs and Tim Beckley and Jacques Vallée and anyone who was talking about this. And they were all saying, yeah, this is really common, really common. And so I wrote an article for the
Wow.
MUFON UFO Journal, the Mutual UFO Network. MUFON is the world's largest
Yeah.
citizen UFO research group. And I wrote this article called 1 in 40, the UFO Epidemic. And they published it. I was really excited about it. And it was a year later that the Roper organization, which is a mainstream polling organization, decided that they were going to do a survey on UFOs and ask
Wow.
all these questions. And they had all these little, sort of hidden questions that would determine if a person is a UFO contactee.
Wow.
And they
That's
put them in this
brilliant.
long list of questions, and they asked thousands of people. And the questions were like, have you had a close-up UFO sighting? Have you had missing time? Do you have any unexplained scars on your body? Have you seen orbs of light in your house? Have you seen figures in your bedroom? These sort of questions. And their
Yeah.
survey found that 1 in 50 people show the markers of being a UFO contactee. So I'm
Oh
like,
my
oh,
gosh.
yeah. And when that poll came out, I remember the editor of the MUFON Journal, Walt Andrus, wrote to me, or he actually may have called me, I forget. But he's like, wow, your article totally predicted it. Good job. I'm like, what? Thanks. That was really cool. But it's quite shocking to realize how common this is. That means millions upon millions of people have been taken on board a UFO. So yes, we are ready for contact. It's gonna be quite shocking. It's gonna, it's gonna shift the paradigm quite a bit. But I think we're ready. I really do.
Apologies, my bird's just woken up. I keep trying to mute my microphone. It's quite happy. Sorry. So can I ask you a question then? There's a question here from Tony. How many UFO programs have you broadcast about UFOs?
A lot. I've been on TV probably 20, 30 times. I've been on countless podcasts like yours. I mean, I couldn't possibly count them. It's been 35 years, so hundreds. And just relatively recently, about just over a year, I put out my own YouTube channel and have almost 100 videos I've put out because, a lot of people don't have time to write books. They don't have the attention span to read, a 200, 300-page book. So I've been putting out a lot of my research on YouTube. And that's doing quite well. I'm very excited about it. So yeah, this is an important subject. I mean, you may not believe in UFOs. People say, oh, why should I care? It doesn't affect me. I've never seen one. I'm like, yes, it affects you. Don't you realize that, UFOs have crashed on this planet? You may have heard of the Roswell UFO crash. That is just one. And there are a lot. I thought, initially when I got in the field, I thought, I heard of Roswell. I thought, wow, a UFO crashed. What are the chances? And then I heard about, of course, others, like the Aztec UFO crash, also New Mexico, or the Paradise Valley crash in Arizona in 1954, Kecksburg UFO crash in 1965. And now, there are people who've specialized in this particular aspect of UFO studies. And there are hundreds. And when I first realized that was when I wrote UFOs over California and found, a good dozen cases or so. And started writing books about various states, such as New York, New Mexico, Colorado, Nevada, and Arizona. And they all had cases, every one of them. So my point is, we have these craft. We have the bodies. We have, to a certain extent, pulled out the technology from these UFOs and reverse engineered it. And we have what amounts to free energy, as we would think of it. We don't need fossil fuels, is what I'm saying. So here we
Yeah,
are.
that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, we're polluting our planet. Many of us are struggling to survive on, shoestring budget and working all day long, 2 jobs, 3 jobs, just to survive. We don't need to do that. We have enough food for everybody. There is no so-called energy crisis. It's a lie. And the environmental crisis, the climate crisis, all of this could be, solved quite easily if we would just be truthful and transparent and forthcoming with this subject. And that's not happening yet. This is a very important subject, and it is affecting every single person on this planet. This cover-up is having devastating consequences, and it can't go on. It really can't. It's not sustainable.
That's right. That's it. We've had a question then from Michael Kennedy, slightly off that. What about the depth of phenomena as far as civilization and societal time? I think it's interesting to note the civilization with amnesia lost.
Yeah, that's a loaded question. That's difficult to answer, but I think what I can say with with full
Yeah,
confidence, what I can say with full confidence is that this is something that has profoundly affected modern civilization. Certainly, our technology has exploded, exponentially, and I think it's as a direct result of extraterrestrial presence on our planet. But going back millennia, thousands of years, it's very, very clear that ETs have been around forever
yeah,
before recorded history, because our very, very, very earliest glimmerings of knowledge on this planet reveal an extraterrestrial presence. You can go all the way back to cave drawings, all the way
yeah,
back to artifacts that stretch
that's
back,
right.
you know, long, long time. I mean, Egyptian hieroglyphs, uh, petroglyphs from
Yeah, and I
indigenous culture.
question the Mayan culture.
Yes, yes. I mean, this goes all through history. Through the Middle Ages, we have wood carvings. In the Renaissance times, we have dozens upon dozens of paintings which depict UFOs with portholes and aliens inside them. And indigenous cultures across the world and ancient writings all talk about sky people. And many indigenous cultures
Yeah,
feel like they are directly related to UFOs and think of the sky people as their ancestors. And I mean, the ancient India has writings about Vimyanas. All of this is absolutely something that's been going on for a very long time. And there's, of course, evidence of ancient civilizations like Atlantis and Lemuria. And if you talk to, if you
yeah.
really research this in depth, and this is not my area of expertise by any means, but I try to follow it.
Marvelous.
But there has been five, to my understanding, at least five modern advanced cultures on our planet. And
Yeah,
so, yeah, they've been intervening. There has been open official contact before in prehistory. And I think that's what we're moving towards today. At some point, I think we will have open official contact.
yeah. It's just mind blowing. It really is. I've always wondered about the pyramids. Obviously, you've got the Egyptian ones, then you've got something happening in Mexico, Central America, and how they could do these structures on their own, and the alignment to the moon and the solar system as well. And yeah, that
Yeah,
obviously you've got the hieroglyphs, which are showing the aliens and spaceships and things like that, aren't they? And it's just mind blowing.
it's really cool. I mean, it's throughout the Bible. Just filled with this stuff in ancient writings of all kinds. And the pyramids are fascinating because they do have these really clear and accurate astronomical tie-ins to.
Yeah,
I mean, someone told me, like, look up the Pyramid of Giza. Did you know its longitude and latitude is equal to the speed of light? I'm like, what are you talking about?
oh my God,
But it turns out to be true. And
Jesus.
it's got right connected to the constellation of Orion, which is often cited by contactees as being, one of the origins of ET grays.
Wow.
So there are really clear tie-ins to all of this. And the pyramids are, I think, good evidence that there's quite a bit of stuff we don't understand about ancient
Definitely.
civilizations.
Yeah. It just seemed that people of that age, that time, were so ahead of what we are in some ways. And yeah, if it did have help, that would make sense, wouldn't it?
Yes, yes. I had one contactee tell me that the people of Atlantis were in direct contact with the ETs, but ended up abusing their technology, which was basically given to them, and it did not end well.
Yeah.
Which may be the reason why we're not being, having open official contact and having, ETs come down and just solve all our problems. Because
That's
that's not
right.
going, it's not going to help us. We have to solve our own problems. And this is something that I have heard over and over again from various contactees who have asked. I interviewed this one couple from Hawaii who were taking a vacation in Sedona, which is a very active hotspot, and had a UFO following their car. Next thing they know, it's landing in the field next to them. They had missing time. And the lady went under hypnosis, and she recalled that they weren't abducted at all. They were invited on board. It was
Wow.
very, very friendly. These were basically human-looking ETs. And she talked to them, and she said, "Where are you from?" And they said, "Well, we're from a place you don't know about yet." They were kind of evasive. They often don't want to talk about where they're from because we're kind of a violent species.
Yeah.
we're not particularly, safe to deal with at this point. So they don't want to give away their exact locations, which is understandable.
You
But
can understand it. What the way like humankind is.
yeah,
The
but
wrong people got near them. My God.
they were very nice, and they actually healed the gentleman. He was
Oh wow.
had carpal tunnel syndrome and problems with I think it was his ankle or his knee or something. And they asked, why do you help some people? And they said, well, we help those who are helping others, but we can only do so much because it's up to you to solve your own problems.
Yeah.
And this was fascinating to me because not only had I heard this before, but these people were wonderful people. She was a hands-on healer. He was very active as a social worker in his community on Hawaii, which was a rural area where people needed,
Wow.
help to maintain their homes. And so this fits the pattern of people who are having contact. I started wondering, like, why are some people being healed? Why are some people being contacted and others not? And I did find one pattern immediately, which was that if it's in your family, if you have been contacted, I bet your mom or dad has, or your grandparents, or your aunt or
Wow.
uncle, and your kids. This tracks family lines.
So that's like the spiritual world works in some ways then, because your family are around you apparently, and then like the aliens sort of stay within the relatives of the families, which is yeah.
Yep, that's
It's
absolutely a pattern. But the other pattern I found was
wow.
so cool because I'm like thinking like, well, gosh, let's do a survey. I'm like, how many men have I interviewed and how many women? It was evenly divided. I'm like, well, maybe, does age has anything to do with it? No,
Yeah.
other than perhaps people who have contact throughout their life are, as a rule, contacted at a very young age. Often,
Wow.
people, if you're being taken on board, I bet dollars to donuts, you had an experience around age 5 to 12. So that was a pattern.
Yeah,
But
you've got that with the paranormal, definitely, haven't you?
yep,
You know, because they're more open then.
that's another pattern. People who are having contact
Yeah.
do have paranormal
Yeah.
uh, experiences. A lot of them. I mean, there's a lot of people who are contactees who've had a near-death experience, who are
Wow.
profoundly psychic. ETs love people who are psychically aware because that is what they are really wanting us to do is wake up to our own natural human abilities to do telepathy,
Wow.
clairvoyance,
Brilliant.
precognition, to the ability to see spirits, the ability to do astral projection.
Yeah.
This is something they're very much. It's one of their main agendas. Because if we can wake up as a society and allow love and truth and compassion and psychic awareness to guide our actions, we will no longer have to deal with the racism, prejudice,
Yeah.
greed, corruption, lies, the unequal distribution of wealth, the divisiveness. and racism and all this is, we don't need this.
It
It's
shows how rubbish humankind can be, doesn't it?
yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So these are the patterns I found, and the pattern that really shocked me, because there's blood type, there's a lot of Rh negative, but no, it's not just that.
Wow,
And
okay. I've heard that one as well. Yeah,
people talk about racism, which is also a lie, because we're all one race. We are all the same species. There are not
yeah,
different races on this planet. That's not true. We're different ancestries, and most people have a multiple ancestries in their
definitely.
DNA. So that's, it's not, someone once told me, well, how come no black people are being contacted? I'm like, what? Wait, what? Many people I've interviewed, you know, are black or
Yeah,
white or Asian or
yeah,
Latino or Pacific Islander. They are all, so it's not your ancestry or blood type. What I found was a really cool pattern was it is your profession. It is your vocation. It's what you are doing on earth that is your passion. Because I kept getting a lot of doctors, social workers,
wow.
animal rights activists, human rights activists,
Oh, okay.
environmentalists, teachers, inventors, police officers, musicians, entertainers, writers, artists,
Yeah,
anyone who's, you don't have to be any one of those professions, just a good person, someone who's
yeah.
trying hard, a philanthropist. One guy I was interviewed, he's like, oh, yeah, I'm a businessman, but I'm very into philanthropy. I'm like, oh. One guy I interviewed, he'd been healed and had a lot of contact. He's like, I'm a bus driver. I'm like, oh. He says, but actually my passion is, I run this website, which is all about spirituality. I'm like,
Oh,
oh.
wow. Yeah,
So yeah, the ETs love people who are helping others. And this is why I started to turn around. I'm like, no, this is not bad for us. Our contact experience is profoundly enlightening. It's profoundly awakening. It's profoundly benevolent. It can be very scary, and often is. It's often very scary for people,
yeah,
simply because we have been so brainwashed into fearing everything. There is,
yeah. That's it. I've actually had a question in along the similar lines here, and this is it's been there a while, but do you think the government keep it secret because if aliens exist, religion would to be drastically changed?
I think that's part of it. I think
Yeah,
the cover up really is something that has several reasons. One is because people do accept the alien presence. It will have a tendency to bring us all together, which is what there's an element on our planet, in our society, that is not good. Just
yeah,
to be perfectly
definitely.
blunt, they do not have our best interests in mind. I will name names here. I'm going to point fingers, and I hate to do it because I'm a pretty idealistic, optimistic, positive guy, but let's face it, our own governments, the military industrial complex, the
Yeah.
oil industry, the banking industry, the insurance industry, the drug industry, uh,
At the moment, yeah, the drug industry, my
yeah,
God.
the one
Yeah,
percenters do not have our best interests. They're covering this up. The people who are withholding UFO information are doing it because to reveal it would let people know that we have friends out there, for one. It would wake people up. That's the last thing they want. Uh, it is ultimately, they've painted themselves into a corner too. They've covered it up from the beginning. That's the policy they adopted. So it's very hard to turn that around. But ultimately, I think it comes down to, I don't think it's because people are going to freak out so much, or that it's going to disrupt religion. That's part of it. But the real reason
yeah,
is
the
very
control
simple. Yep, power,
and
control,
control, yeah.
greed, money. Because like the oil industry and the drug industry
Oh,
make billions in profit each year, and we don't need them. We don't need that. They're making
yeah,
so much money off of this, And here we are struggling to survive. It's ridiculous.
Well, that's it. Like the issues we've now got in the UK with the gas and electricity, the prices are going sky high. But they've made like loads of profits through the years,
Yes.
you know. And now all
And
of a sudden it's like, oh, well, they've got profits.
it's it's evil. I mean, how dare you? This is so yeah, it makes me really mad. The cover
Yeah,
up,
it's
I think,
shocking. Yeah.
is what is very interesting though, what's going on with this whole cover up, which is still in place. It's been a
Mm.
complete failure. The ETs
Yeah.
are perfectly aware that there is a cover up and did meet directly with world leaders who were not cooperative. I mean, there was a meeting at Edwards Air Force Base in California in 1952, 54, in which ETs spoke directly, face to face, with President Eisenhower and world leaders in business, religion, politics, media, uh, very highly placed people all across the board in society. And there was a bit of an impasse. And the
Wow.
meeting, as far as I know, did not, and I'm going to underline that, no treaty involving, exchange for technology and abductions and things like this, which is a rumor going around, which I've found no good reporting on, none.
Right.
But what I understand did take place was that the ETs said, you need to disclose. You need to let people know that there is an ET presence. And we did not want to do that. And they said, you need to stop messing around with nuclear power. You've got to stop doing this.
Yeah.
It's causing, it will cause an existential crisis. You are damaging, areas of this universe you are not even aware of. There was a lot of discussion along these lines. You need to do spiritual awareness training. Uh,
Yeah.
we will help you. And
Oh,
this did
wow.
not happen. And this, I think, is why the ETs are like, okay, we are going to take matters into our own hands. And they started contacting people on a widespread basis, because that's when people started being taken on board in large numbers. This is when people started having waves of sightings over, city centers. Belgium had a wave in the 90s.
Wow.
Hudson Valley, Gulf Breeze, Wytheville, Virginia, Topanga Canyon. I mean, there's waves over every country has had major waves of sightings. It's a publicity campaign on the part of the ETs to announce their presence.
That's
I,
brilliant.
I wrote a book called Schoolyard UFO Encounters because there's a very famous case in Africa at Ariel Elementary School in Rua, Zimbabwe, where UFOs landed. ETs came
Wow.
out. They talked to the children. And I thought, wow, that's a crazy case. Look at that.
Yeah.
They're showing themselves to kids. And I instantly thought of another case in Melbourne, Australia, at Westall High School, 1966. Same thing. UFOs landed next to the playground, showed themselves to 300 kids and teachers, by the way. And I
My gosh.
know a case in New Zealand involving 400 people, Maranui, New Zealand. I know a case in Opelika, Florida, 1967, Crestview Elementary,
Wow.
200 kids landed next to the school. Bunch of cases all across England, Wales, all across Europe, really. I found just recently a case in Russia, all across Canada, all across the US. I found 100 cases, Jacqueline. 100.
My gosh.
They are
That,
showing
that's
themselves to
that's
children.
amazing. Yeah, people just like make a comment and never actually look into it, and you've actually gone out, looked into it, and you've written books on it.
Yeah, a new
It's
book I
brilliant.
also wrote is this was so funny to me. UFOs at the drive-in.
Right?
Yes, where because I had this lady at my office where I worked. She found out I was a UFO researcher. She's like, "Oh, Preston, I saw a UFO at the drive-in theater with my parents and my little sister." I'm like,
Wow.
"What?" She says, "Yeah, it came down and hovered right next to the screen, and everyone was freaking out. They were dropping their popcorn, their drinks, and screeching out. It stayed there for a long time." I'm like, "You're kidding." She says, "No, it was right next to the screen. You could not miss it. A silver disc with colored lights."
My
Like,
God.
Oh, that's what I said. I'm like, wow.
Mind blowing. Yeah.
And I thought that's got to be unique. I've never heard of a case like this. And I've got a lot of books on this subject. And I started going through my books. I didn't find any cases. I found one, but I thought, because I thought maybe it's a thing. And then I started looking through newspapers, and I got a real shock. I ended up finding over 100 cases again. And
My gosh.
it's always the same. They hover right over the screen, 50 feet, 10 feet above it, right to the left of it, to the right of it, or circling
My
around.
gosh.
And it's very, very low level sightings and long lasting. And they will start flashing their lights or releasing smaller craft or darting around. Like you want to see a show? We'll give you a show.
Oh my God. That's so cool.
Yes. And this is what they're doing. This is a way that they are announcing their presence to society, because our own governments have failed in their duty to do the right thing and tell the truth and do what's good for humanity. So the ETs said, all right, we will absolutely take steps to make sure that this cover-up is a failure. And it has been. It's leaking like a sieve. There are 1,000 plus whistleblowers. I've talked to them myself.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Certainly, some big names sort of who have appeared, sort of telling their stories. And got a couple of comments here from Michael. I've got so many comments come in, but I haven't interrupted because it's just brilliant, sort of tales and like. But yeah, you're highly read and professional who does the research, and wow, sort of what you're coming out with is, the stories.
Yes.
Just brilliant. So I've been trying to push us to evolve spiritually. Believe there's too much data showing some third parties' interest, whether it be the government or special cabal, or just simply the military industrial complex, another industry. Yeah, ugly hooks that want us to be the obedient sheep. But yeah, that's so true.
Yes. Yeah. Big shout out to Michael. Hi, Michael. I actually did connect with him. I absolutely agree with that.
I have so many comments coming in, and I just didn't want to interrupt you, so I'm going to try and catch up with these comments now. So, Tony, why does an alien not appear in public, but then
Yeah. No, I love that
they do
question.
in a way?
They do and they don't. I mean, you can't just go outside and say, "Where are you?" Come down, and because they have not landed on the White House lawn, but they tried in 1952 and 54. They came down over the White House in large numbers, and our reaction was not positive. We scrambled planes after them and tried to intercept them. Throughout the early 50s, we were shooting at them. That did stop because we started to lose pilots. I totally get that.
They will, yeah.
Yeah, that behavior was eventually. We stopped doing that because if you shoot at them, they will defend themselves, like anyone would. And we have not seen open official contact. Why won't they just come down? And I think the reason is because for decades that sort of action would have a profoundly disruptive effect on our society. And you asked earlier, are we ready? I don't think we were ready in the 50s or 60s or 70s or 80s or 90s or 2010. Now, I think we're very close. I think we're very, very close to ready. I'm not sure we're quite ready. I think we are. I really do. But that's, I think, the main reason why, because it would be so disruptive. Open official contact wouldn't necessarily be the best thing for us if, most people will freak out. But we've now dealt with some very heavy-duty issues. We've dealt with pandemics, multiple pandemics throughout human history. We've dealt with, the nuclear crisis. We've dealt with, pollution choking our planet. We're dealing with racism, which is finally, prejudice. We're overcoming it. Women's rights, civil rights. For centuries, women were not treated equally. They're still not, but we're so close
No,
to actually, recognizing that all people are equal.
that's right.
The United States was a huge step forward with its constitution saying, all people are created equal. They used the word men. That was a mistake. But they did, they did pretty good. And so it was a big step. We're so close. I think we're really close to waking up and being ready to, ultimately, I think it's our own prejudice that's blocking, an official sighting, because we still have troubles, recognizing that we are all one. This is the number one message from contactees: is we are one, you are us, we are they. We are all one, in this universe. We're all entities with autonomy. ETs don't have religion, as near as I can tell. I'm just interjecting this. They don't have government. They don't have anything like that, because they live by truth, compassion, moral law, ethics, telepathy, what one knows they all know, sharing. It is all very much a cooperative venture. All the ETs out in the universe are not dealing with wars and crime like we have here on our planet. That's why we're not having open official contact, because we need to grow up. And as soon as we can, get world leaders who have our best interests in mind, as soon as we can stop killing each other, that they will come roaring.
They can't get on. It's crazy,
They will land the next day as soon as we stop wars. As soon as we stop putting chemicals in our own drinking water. Seriously.
It's mad, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's coming. It's coming.
There are examples over every country with concentrations on nuclear site. The overall message from the ETs is that we can stop you from destroying yourselves, but you as a people need to move past this and spiritually evolve. That's a great
comment. Very, very, very concerned about nuclear proliferation.
Yeah.
And if when people are taken on board, the first thing they'll say is, "Oh, don't be afraid. We won't hurt you. Have no fear. No harm will come to you." And some people have a lot of fear, and that's kind of all they remember is being physically examined. Boy, was this scary. Because if someone has a super strong fear reaction, they will be like, "Oh my gosh, this person's not quite ready. Let's help them as much as we can." They're lashing out. Don't let they'll paralyze you, so you won't hurt yourself or others. And they will do the best they can. Like, well, this person's not ready to remember. Let's suppress their memory until it's time. It's a person's choice, really, whether or not they want to remember this. But if a person doesn't have a strong fear reaction, they will give you messages. And they're like, "Don't explode nuclear power. Tell your leaders, do what you can." And I investigated a case personally. If I could just tell you this one case, because it's so darn interesting. It's a very, very famous case which occurred in Malmstrom Air Force Base in Montana in 1967, in which UFOs came down and shut down almost 20 ICBM missiles, nuclear-tipped intercontinental ballistic missiles, which are to the purpose is to destroy.
Shock it, yeah.
Which is so utterly stupid.
Yeah.
And so I talked to one of the guys who was there. He heard about this being publicized on TV. He was shocked because he had gotten, he had signed an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement.
Yeah.
So you will lose your job. You will be, prosecuted basically if you go public.
Yeah.
He heard about it on TV. He's like, "Well, I'm an old man. I'm going public." And he contacted a few researchers before he found me, shared his story with me. And he was there at Malmstrom when this happened. he was outside at one of the nuclear missile sites doing routine maintenance when a UFO showed up, hovered over this missile, and shut it down. And he said the missile immediately came back online because there are fail safes, and it came back online using a diesel generator. And he said that went offline, and the missile had a second fail safe in which it was battery power. So the missile came back online again, and that went offline. So boom.
Wow.
And he said it was a huge dark object. He couldn't see what it looked like. It was just blocking out the stars, but it was right over the site. And it was quite out. These were widely spaced missile silos. So it took, they're several miles from the main Air Force base. And it took almost an hour for security personnel to reach there in jeeps. And they cleared the site. They told him, we're taking you back to the base. And took him and his whole crew. He was the head of the maintenance crew. Back to the base and questioned them separately about what happened. Told them, you are never to discuss this with anyone, not even each other, not one word.
Yeah.
You will lose your job. And he said, we didn't. I talked about it a few times in private with my friend who was, part of his team.
Yeah.
But after they all passed away and, he's getting quite old, he decided, I want to do my part to disclose.
Oh, wow.
This is not right. The government has no right to withhold this information. This is something that belongs to all people.
Definitely.
And this incident was a clear message from the ETs saying, don't explode nuclear weapons.
Yeah.
And I can only imagine, from a military perspective, I have some sympathy, this much,
Yeah.
for, the people at the high levels here, because I can only imagine how they felt when this UFO comes down and starts shutting down their weapons. They're like, oh my gosh, these guys, what if they're hostile? What if, because they have the ability to shut down our weapons. And from a military perspective, they must have crapped their pants.
Definitely.
I hate to be graphic, but yeah, they must have absolutely gone out of their minds when this happened. But I do not think this was a hostile act at all.
Well, no, if it was hostile, then the whole lot would have gone up, wouldn't it?
Yeah, they would have just taken them, destroyed
obliterated
them,
everything.
and which has never happened. ETs don't kill people; they're healing them. We kill people. They don't explode nuclear. If they wanted to take over, are you kidding? We would have been taken over millennia ago. I mean, we would already be in cages. No,
Yeah, that's
it's
right.
not going to happen. There's no evidence for it. I get quite angry when
Well, it's how they treated them at Roswell, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's an experimental.
They're not hostile, period.
Yeah.
We are the ones who have real problems.
That's
and
right.
I'm not going to say everyone who has an encounter has fun and that this is great. And boy, I wish it would happen again, because that's just not true. It's very scary for people because we're so fear-based. And occasionally I have gotten what I perceive, or certainly the witness perceives to be a negative encounter. And I'm not going to say that this didn't happen, because it's a wide universe and there's all kinds of people.
That's
and
right.
ET behavior, they're people. They are people like us.
Yeah.
And perhaps not all of them do have our best interests in mind. But the fact is, if you are technologically advanced to the point that you are a star-faring race, the chances are your technology also had the ability to destroy your own civilization. And you wouldn't be star-faring if that had happened. You would not be star-faring unless you had developed advanced ethics and morals and, kindness and compassion. So that's why I think we have no reason to worry and every reason to be encouraged. Because if you look at what actually happens objectively to people who are taken on board, it's really quite wonderful. It really is.
Yeah. For the ones who have been healed, yeah, definitely. So Michael Kennedy, huge knowledge here, and yeah, you see, I don't know much about ufology at all. Apart from obviously people sort of seeing things, but what you've mentioned is, it's brilliant, and
Yeah,
the fact they want to help us as well
yeah.
in some ways.
I mean, I just can't reiterate it enough because the the rumor is, or what's flying around in the whole UFO mill, or what's upcoming. People often ask me, what's the future going to bring, which is impossible to say for sure, obviously. But what is the knowledge that's coming out, the information that's coming out from whistleblowers, from UFO researchers, is that our own governments are planning on staging what is usually termed a false flag. Basically, they're
Okay.
going to portray the ETs as invaders. And the fact is, we do have some of this technology. Some of the
Mm.
UFOs people are seeing, particularly, the triangular shaped craft,
Yeah.
TR3Bs, or even rectangular craft, or you can kind of here's an important bit of knowledge for anyone listening. If you see a UFO, as a general rule, a UFO behaves in a certain way. Their engines, the way they travel is by riding on magnetic fields. And the magnetic fields of our planets are somewhat unstable, and particularly now unstable.
Yeah.
So a UFO will bob up and down. It looks like it's floating in the waves. It will have a
Wow.
pendulum-like movement, a falling leaf type movement. Sort of goes, it wobbles. That is how you
Okay.
recognize a true UFO. Whereas the government craft don't do that because they don't quite have the technology advanced enough, or the ability to fly these UFOs in that way. So that is
Yeah.
one way of doing it. Another way would be, if it's hostile, it's probably us. Uh,
Yeah.
if it's near a military base, because this is what I've been told. I can't prove this. I don't like to speculate. I really focus my research on, people who've had first-hand encounters, and because I think that's where we get the most information. But this is what I've learned, that we do have this technology. It has been reverse engineered,
Mm.
and there is a real danger of a false flag and a fake alien threat. So if anyone should ever say, UFOs are shooting at people, no, 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 no. There was a
Yeah.
very, very famous incident some years ago in Colares, Brazil, where this did happen. And people were passing away from radiation sickness after being struck by beams of lights from UFOs. And it was horrific. And I looked into this, and as did many, many researchers. This is very well known in the field.
Yeah.
And it's widely believed to be hostile aliens. However, the lead investigator apparently said no, government, and then he was killed under mysterious circumstances. I can't say, whether or not what exactly happened here. This is not a case I've personally investigated, but this is something that many researchers and contactees, and I think anyone interested in this field, is beginning to wake up to, that the ETs are not here to hurt us. The government, gosh, I hate to even think this, our own secret government, I should say,
Yeah.
uh, might not have our best interests in mind. I'm putting that nicely. Um,
Yeah. Well, they've got their own agenda, haven't they?
yeah.
Like we know that recently, the last 2 years.
And in fact, what I found
Mm.
is, I wrote a book, The Healing Power of UFOs, because pretty much every major researcher out there had cases like this, and they weren't
Wow.
talking about them. Not as much as, I mean, some were, I shouldn't say that, but it wasn't getting the attention I thought it deserved.
Yeah.
The media is very fear-based. If you want to get on TV, they will
Oh,
take your story and twist it. So,
definitely.
and I've had this happen to me fairly regularly. I'll do an interview hours long, and it comes on TV, and it's like, Preston Dennett says the aliens hurt. No, that's not what I said.
No.
I've had my words turned 180 degrees around. Uh, I've had really good fortune with a lot of, I've been treated pretty well with the media for the
That's
most
cool.
part. But I will say that I am worried about it, and the way the media portrays this is not accurate. And there are
Yeah.
researchers out there, who I am like, you're. I'm not going to name names with,
Yeah,
researchers, because that's not what I'm about.
that's
You know,
right.
it's up to each person. Don't believe me. Do your own research. I'm trying to provide UFO information that, is as accurate and as objective as I can possibly
And
do.
I'm grateful for what you've said as well, and how sort of honest and straight you've been.
Yeah, but it's up to every single person on Earth to ask questions, to
Yeah,
to determine the truth for themselves, to be autonomous, to wake up, to stop believing the lies. People really need to, because there are some UFO researchers out there, experiencers. I'll put that in huge quotes, because I think they're lying and putting forth an alien threat narrative. I think some of these are government stooges. I really do.
yeah.
There is
It's like Don
disinformation.
says, we are becoming wise to the media. Like, the last 2 years, like at one stage, like COVID's going to kill you, basically. Don't get out your houses, blah, blah, blah. And now, like, there's still high cases, and they go, oh, it's fine, you can go out without masks. So that
Yeah,
they hide all the reporting now. It's
I know
still
some.
around, but it's fine.
Some people, the news, the mainstream news, a lot of people are calling it fear porn,
Yeah,
which
exactly.
which was a very interesting term to me, because uh, it kind of is. If you watch the news, it's like all about, mass
Yeah,
shootings, terrorism,
yeah.
scandals.
And
It's
it's
not.
the stories they want you to be scared of, aren't they? They do things to like scare you and
Yes, and there's commercials. If you look at like advertising on TV,
oh,
there's lots
miserably.
of products being sold, but every commercial segment, there's always one with some drug they're trying to feed people, which
Oh,
has a 5-minute long list of side effects. um,
yeah,
I'm just really upset with how people are being lied to,
yeah,
and it can't go on. I think people need to just step back and say, okay, you know what? We need to realize our rights are being stripped away bit by bit,
yeah.
one
It's
by
getting
one. We all need to
finished.
unite. Government is almost not necessary. A person has ethics and morals and compassion and allows truth to guide their actions. We wouldn't need government or money. ETs don't have money. They do not. It is a necessary evil, I think, in our society, but simply because of the way it's organized. But ultimately, if we could just allow love and truth. I mean, there are communities like have gotten along fine without money.
Yeah,
People who the whole uh, what do they call them? Australian Aborigines. That was one of the longest lived cultures on our planet. They didn't use money. They survived off grid. The Amish, Pennsylvania,
yeah.
um, are very self-reliant. That's what we need to do. Is,
That's right. We're not self-reliant, and like even as a country, we should be able to grow produce. And like for years, like the farmers weren't allowed to grow produce, and they get money for it to keep the fields empty and stuff like that. And it
yep.
was just mad.
A couple hundred years ago, most people were largely self-reliant. That's how society was organized.
Yeah,
People grew their own food. People were born in their own homes. Uh,
yeah,
there was all these. So I think there's a movement. Off grid. It's super popular. People more and more are beginning to realize. You know what? We need to grow our own food.
yeah,
Monsanto. You guys are also on my naughty list. They've been sued so many times. Honestly,
yeah.
trying to genetically alter plants and
Oh
take
God, no.
and take over the whole food system as a business is morally bankrupt. It's absolutely not nice. what are you
No,
doing?
you don't know what it's causing, do you? In the
Yeah,
long term.
they have genetically altered corn, so that most corn is probably not good to eat.
Yeah.
And you can tell because I read a book on this. The animals won't even eat a lot of these genetically altered foods. They won't
Oh
eat it.
my gosh.
You go to the grocery store, and much of it is not really, it's overly processed.
Oh,
Uh,
definitely, yeah. Most food is
it's,
now, isn't it?
it's not good for you. And ETs
Yeah,
are telling people about this. It's surprising to me how many contactees have talked about, like, do your own gardening,
yeah.
or talked about, there was a whole wave of encounters involving fertilizer. We're connected with ETs researching fertilizer. It's
Wow.
really interesting to me. I'm like, that's kind of cool. I love finding patterns and stuff in UFO contact. I
Yeah,
found many cases where ETs are hovering over certain areas, like schools or prisons. There's a bunch of cases where UFOs are hovering over
okay.
prisons. I thought,
Wow.
what's going on here? And
Yeah.
I think they were just basically trying to figure out. They're very
What's
interested
going
in,
on?
yeah, like, okay, they are locking people up. They because they're very much studying our technology, and any place that any Air Force base, any rocket launch, any nuclear station, any power station, dams, you name it, they are checking it out, and they're checking out prisons for sure. I found a bunch of cases. It's
My
really cool.
gosh. That's
Yeah.
brilliant. Michael Kennedy, the fertilizer issue is huge where he lives in the mountains of North Carolina. And they dump huge stuff on the Christmas trees, which kill everything for about 24 hours. That's shocking. Wow.
Yes. Yeah. It's quite disturbing. This
It
is why
is.
people need to really think about what food they're eating, what water they're drinking,
Yeah.
because we have the pineal gland in our brain, which is sort of
Yeah.
the psychic center, and ETs are trying to wake people up. Like I said earlier, if we used to be a telepathic race. There's the story of the Tower of Babel when language was invented and we all split up and started speaking different languages. At
Yeah.
some point, we were all united and spoke telepathically and lived in harmony. And then it just spiraled downwards into this whole power structure, a federalized system,
Yeah.
religion, lies. Uh,
Egos and everything.
and when we started exploding nuclear bombs, that's when ET said, okay, enough is enough. We really need to do a campaign to help these people who are once again on the pathway towards self-destruction. So this is why people are being contacted. This is why people who are taken on board are shown the engine room and told you don't need fossil fuels. They are told, about nuclear proliferation, the dangers of pollution and corruption. They're told how to
Yeah.
fly the ship. They're given spiritual information.
Yeah. So I've got a question there then from Michael Kennedy.
Yes, the Anunnaki. uh, yeah, I can't say I'm a special. I have a whole lot of information on this. There are some people who have really dug deep into the ancient writings, and I can't say that I have, uh,
Yeah.
but I've certainly looked into it. And the Anunnaki, yeah, I think are real, and did contact people in an open, official way, and interacted with the human population on a large scale basis,
Wow.
and they were worshipped. It did not go that well. It led to sort of an apocalyptic type flood event, and
Gosh.
you know,
I need to
um,
check this out.
the whole story of Noah and the flood is actually universal in all cultures.
Yeah.
So it's clearly something happened. It's in the Bible too. Humans mating with the gods, and so there's something to this. And as near as I can tell, this interest in genetics and reproduction is something that's been there for a very long time, and that we are, in fact, being upgraded genetically to improve our health, to improve our psychic awareness,
Mm.
to improve our longevity. And this is why families are followed, because
Yeah.
people have certain genetic lines, genetic qualities that the ETs very much want to perpetuate, because these are people who are, have health in their genes, who have longevity, who have, compassion and psychic abilities and intelligence. The contactees are the nicest people. They are the psychic people. They are super
Wow.
intelligent. Uh, it's amazing to me how many contactees I've talked to who are, I would call, overachievers in a way. They'll
Okay.
have multiple degrees. They speak many languages. They know stuff. It's really, really cool. So they follow genetic lines and have been for a while and are intervening. And there are many, many. I'm not speculating here. This can be backed up with firsthand cases. And not
Wow.
just mine, but I won't say every, but many researchers out there. I'll point to one case which I love. It's from R.D. Six Killer Clark, who is one researcher I will point out as being wonderfully authentic and objective and truthful, because she's just telling people stories as they are relating to him. She's specialized in interviewing indigenous cultures throughout the Americas. And she interviewed this one gentleman from South America, I think it was, who was a bicycle racer, uh, who had contact, was taken on board, and really doesn't remember anything except after being contacted, he started winning all his bike races and enjoying extraordinarily good health. He became faster and stronger. And I'm like, yep, that's a health upgrade. I've heard it a million times. John Mack, one of the leading researchers in the US, unfortunately, he's passed away, uh, also said this.
Wow. That's amazing. There is a group near me who go to the forest once a month and try and do a mass meditation rather, to try and speak to the aliens and ETs.
Yes. And
And
this,
they say that they've seen some lights sort of go overhead before. So
oh,
yeah, they try
cool.
it monthly just to try and sort of get something. So I definitely want to go out on this one. It's in the Sherwood Forest in Nottingham. So yeah, just the forest, like all the energy of the forest, and just like looking skyward, sitting in chairs, and just
Yes,
sounds a brilliant thing to do.
that's exactly what we need to do. This
Yeah,
is
here we go. Michael, he knows.
a
C5.
yes, he took the words out of my mouth. Thank you, Michael. Yeah,
Well,
CE5 is a huge sort of movement right now. It's the forefront of UFO research. It's a way to initiate contact. It's being done worldwide.
yeah,
It's becoming very much popularized. Super easy to do. You don't
yeah,
need to go out into the wilderness to do it. You can do this in your backyard. I think it probably works better if you do it with groups.
yeah,
If you are able to go to a place where there is, known UFO activity, uh, if you are able to bring along a contactee who's had,
yeah,
there are certain ingredients that might help, but absolutely the only essential ingredient is meditation, reaching out in love and truth and compassion, and saying,
yeah,
I'd love to see you. And if we can get enough people doing this, and there are millions doing it now, a
yeah,
lot, and this is being done regularly all over the world, this will move this subject forward in a way that the governments can't control, because you can't hide this sky. You
that's
cannot.
right.
Yeah, you can't. It's just
Yeah,
too. It's all. I mean, there's no way. And even if you were to put cloud cover, well, UFOs can come down through the clouds, and they do. And what CE5 work will lead to is open official contact. And
yeah,
this is how we will end the cover up. This is how we can start open official contact. This is how we can transform society. This CE5 work is the cutting edge of UFO research. That CE5 work, I think, the contactees, people who are actually having contact, and people who are working on disclosure, whistleblowers and researchers who are working hard to sort of get government itself to deal with this in an open, transparent way, which is beginning to happen. It's actually, we're having government, it's being talked about by senators, presidents, heads of state, governors. People are talking. There are laws being passed, groups being formed. This has become official and mainstream. I'm so excited.
It's
I
brilliant.
I don't think they'll ever do it willingly, but they might have to do it unwillingly. And
That's it. Yeah. Enough people are sort of doing that, trying to communicate and getting evidence and results.
Yeah, it's now being discussed in the mainstream news. I'm like, wow, look at that. I've been beating my head against a brick wall for years. And finally, it's being discussed, taken seriously. The ridicule factor is going away. And the only reason, honestly, people are like, wow, the government is coming clean. I'm like, well, the only reason they're doing that is very much like the civil rights movement, which was very much resisted by government, by the way. They did not, embrace it. But it became an idea whose time had come, something that was absolutely embraced by the world, like the end of slavery. People are like, no, there will be no more legalized slavery. It's still a problem, but it's not legal. And that's what we're seeing with the UFO situation and this cover-up. It's still a problem, but it's going at some point, I think, not become tenable. And the only reason our government has disclosed this is because they had to. It's not their best interest. They don't want to. They are still covering it up. But the fact that there has been steps is because they need, I've been telling them this for years. Like, if they don't disclose, they're going to lose all credibility. They will lose all control over the subject of people's perception of it. And that's the last thing they want. They love control. And
that's right.
Sorry, no more. Goodbye, cover up. Nice knowing you. Don't need you anymore. Thank you. Have fun. Bye.
I think we've realised more over the last few years about this control thing, because it's more evident, isn't it, that's happening?
Yes, we the people.
I've had a question from Dolly Safran then, and I think I know the answer to this.
Hi, Dolly. Yes, Dolly's is someone I know quite well. She's a contactee.
Oh, wow.
And in fact, she is the subject of my next book.
I thought so. I picked that one up.
Which is actually just recently completed. I'm going through the final proofs. And
I want that book. I need to sort it. Yeah.
And you know what's so lovely about it, Jacqueline, is I've talked to so many people. I really have. And many people have, fear issues. They've looked through their experiences through the lens of fear. And some people just have some memory problems with it. They don't want to remember or having trouble remembering. And certainly Dolly did have these problems initially, but at age 14, she just became sick of it. She was having, missing time and contact. She's like, oh my God, I'm going crazy. I can't take this anymore. And had an experience at age 14. UFOs came down again, right in her backyard. She's looking at them. There's little grays in the window. She's like, oh my God, and dives under her bed, freaking out. And they pull her on board. And she didn't remember. And she's like, that's it. I'm going to remember. And goes into the bathroom, just sits down and starts remembering. And ended up, over a period of a couple of weeks, remembering it full on. And it was absolutely a wonderful experience. She remembered going on board. It was this really cool experience. Where she got to, talk to the ETs face to face.
It's giving me the chills, it says. Oh, wow.
Yes, it was wonderful. They talked to her face to face. They're like, oh, we're so glad you're waking up and you've decided to remember. How can we help you? What do you want to do? Wow. Do you want to work with us? And she said, yes, yes, yes. I'm like, oh, good.
You're so amazing, Dolly.
And
My
they're like,
gosh.
"What do you want to do?" And she says, "No," because we're giving her all these options. I think we all have little contactees have various missions. I know I do. My mission is to educate, to write, to research. And she's like, "I want to fly. I want to learn how to fly the craft." And I just was so delighted to hear this because I can't tell you, Jacqueline, how
Oh, wow.
other people have told me the same thing. I've had many people tell me how they were taught to fly these craft. And that's what
Oh,
she
my
chose.
gosh.
Yes, this is not everything she's told me, pretty much. Not everything, but 80% I've heard from other people. So, but she has had a lifetime of contact fully awake. And there's not a whole lot of people who you know, have gone public, I should say, with their
Yeah.
experiences and report fully conscious contact. There's a handful. Most people who have gone public uh, aren't quite there yet, but there's a lot of people waking up now. A lot. I know there's an army out there of fully conscious contactees who have
Wow.
purposefully and understandably and very intelligently not gone public
Yeah.
because they can't do their work.
It's a
If they,
difficult one, definitely.
yeah, if you go public with this, you have a very, strong potential of being ridiculed, debunked,
That's right.
viciously attacked, or even rubbed out. So this is why most who are fully conscious have not gone public. But there's an enormous number of people out there who have these fully conscious experiences. But yeah, Dolly's,
Mm.
oh my gosh, wait, I'm so excited about this book. I can't tell you because finally I've been able to talk to someone who can, draw the ETs accurately, who can describe what's happening
Oh, well,
with
thanks
these.
so much for that, Dolly. That it sounds fantastic. I want to read this book, and I'll certainly promote it on my page because I think, yeah, people need to see and hear this, don't they?
Yes, UFO
Definitely.
contact is benevolent. It truly is. It's all about healing and enlightening people, waking them up to our own abilities, to our own ET ancestry. In effect, we are all ETs. We really
Well, yeah,
are. There's human-looking ETs out there. We're not perfectly suited for planet Earth. Could be a reason for that. We might not have originated here. I can't prove this. This is just
well,
something
yeah,
that has been floated around quite a bit among UFO researchers. Like, maybe we have a closer relationship to the ETs than we realize.
yeah. I
But
just
yeah,
don't know. Have you got another 5 minutes? Is that fine?
oh yeah,
We've
I
still
have
got time, yeah?
as long as you'd like. Yeah.
Oh, great. I'm not sure when the next show is, so I've got to be careful. But yeah, I think we're fine because I'm kind of early in the US. So I've got a question here from Andy. Andy Renz, if that's the right pronunciation. Sorry. What are your thoughts on Data Love Pass incident?
Yeah. Oh, hi, Andy. He's one of the people I interviewed.
Oh,
Actually,
awesome.
very nice to hear from you, Andy. Yeah, I do know about the jet. I'm not sure I can pronounce it. The
I
Zetlov,
can't even pronounce it.
the Zetlov
I stumbled over it.
path incident.
I
I've
really can't
seen.
read tonight. It's terrible.
I have read about this. I've seen a few full-length documentaries, and it's certainly been featured many times on various UFO shows. And in brief, for those who don't know about it, involved, I think it was a group of 7 or 8 young people in Russia who were hiking up to this area and did not come back and were found dead. Gosh, there's no nice way of putting it.
Oh, wow.
And people are not honestly sure what happened because they died under very mysterious circumstances. They were running out in the snow, barefoot. Their tents were ripped up. They had a lot of horrific damage to their bodies. And there's some speculation that this could be perhaps a government experiment,
Uh,
perhaps a Bigfoot attack. perhaps UFO related in some way.
Wow.
And there's all sorts of evidence pointing towards one or the other. If you can cherry pick it like you like. I mean, there are some
Yeah.
photos showing mysterious lights in the sky. And I guess some of them had their ribs broken. There's a photograph of what appears to be a Bigfoot, which has been pretty much decided that that's one of the hikers, actually. So I'm not sure this was Bigfoot related. Some of them had like their tongues removed and eyeballs eaten out. That's probably predators. This is what researchers have finally decided,
Right.
because predators will go after the soft tissues of a corpse. Gosh, this is grim. So I honestly don't know what happened in the Dyatlov Pass incident,
Wow.
but I lean towards this being something that perhaps these hikers came upon that they weren't supposed to see,
Okay.
and may have been basically murdered
Oh
because
gosh. Right.
they saw something that they weren't supposed to see that was government related. That's my personal opinion. This is not
Okay. Yeah.
necessarily one that's been put forth on some of these shows. Some of the shows do more research than others.
Yeah.
But the full-length documentaries that were very objective put forth these theories in an objective way, which is something I truly appreciate. Just showing the evidence and let me make up my own mind.
That's right. Yeah.
And I don't know enough about it. This is not a case I've really delved deep into, but it's quite famous in this field and quite horrific. And I don't know what happened. I don't think UFOs did it. I don't think Bigfoot did it. It doesn't fit the pattern. Bigfoot can be hostile, but there's like one or two cases where possibly people have been killed by Bigfoot. And there's
Right.
millions of Bigfoot cases. It's not Bigfoot. And I certainly don't think UFOs did this to people. So that leaves pretty much government, because I don't know what else it could possibly be. Some supernatural event, possibly,
Yeah.
but I don't know. But yeah, there were lights in the sky. There, objects. I did see the photographs. He did forward in some of them, and I did see those on the documentaries on this.
Wow. That's cool. This has just been mind blowing. Not even covered half of what I wanted to cover. I didn't even cover out of body experiences, which fascinates me as well. But it's just been fantastic. Thank you so much, and thank you to everyone who's joined in with the comments and the questions. Oh,
Yeah.
and Von says, did they put it down to avalanche and the winds?
It possibly could be. There's some weird aspects to it from where they found the bodies and stuff, but that would explain some of the evidence. But we honestly don't know.
Oh wow!
That's the thing about a lot of these cases. Yeah, that's the thing about a lot of these cases is we weren't there, and
yeah, that's right.
People will say, "Oh, this person or that person is a liar." I'm like, "Hold on a second, were you
can't
there?"
say, yeah.
Or this is the truth or that is the truth. I'm like, well, I'm not sure you're actually equipped to say for sure on something that you weren't there. So we have to use, to a certain extent, our intuition and really look at the evidence objectively and say, what is the most reasonable thing? What's the most reasonable conclusion? And I think for UFOs and UFO contact, it's the totality of the cases. No, I wasn't there when people were healed. But to have 300 cases from all over the world.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, from every major researcher, stretching back over 100 years. And when people describe the interior of a UFO in almost identical terms, it's clear to me that we can conclude that this is truthful, because there's no way they could possibly corroborate each other's stories to such an incredible degree of detail.
Yeah,
there are little tiny details that only researchers are aware of. I mean, this has become far more publicized over the years, that people know what the interior of a UFO looks like. But there are little things that aren't super well known. I'm like, oh my gosh, this person said it.
Brilliant. See, that's why I love the paranormal, because I'm going to look now more into ufology, because my God, the stuff like you've mentioned and the stories, I didn't know anything. um, apart from the existence. But yeah, but like the thing is about paranormal, a person will have a story. You have to believe or not believe the storyteller. But when somebody comes out with the same story, totally unrelated and unconnected, then it does give validation, doesn't it?
Yes, and each case, paranormal or otherwise, does have evidence, physical
Yeah,
often. There's footprints, there's handprints on windows, there are
yeah, that's right.
photographs, EVP. There is mountains of evidence to support every paranormal phenomena.
Yeah,
Proof.
I'm just loving this. I've got to do so much research now. You've just given me so much I want to do. I'm trying to write my book, but now I just want to look up UFOs and a lot of the things you've mentioned I want to look at. It's
Oh,
so cool.
write the book. All it
Oh my
takes is
God, I'm trying to. I'm trying.
a page a day. You'll get through it.
Oh gosh, I've got a deadline, but we'll see what happens on that.
I'm familiar with deadlines. Yes, they're very,
I've got a
very
launch date.
stressful.
I've decided, but yeah, we'll see. Question here then: have any mediums been up there or remotely read the area?
Oh, the
That's a
Detlef
great
Pass.
question.
Yeah, I don't know about the Detlef Pass. I think that would be a great avenue of research for like remote viewers or stuff like that, because I know people have remote viewed and done that sort of psychic exploration of all kinds of events throughout history, and it's really fascinating when you see
Yeah,
that stuff.
I sort of want to go to Rendlesham. That's like the one in the UK, which everyone mentions. And there's a couple of guys who do the Dark Mirror show. They've been to Rendlesham and they've experienced things there, so I definitely want to go there. But
Rendlesham, another case, absolutely true. I remember the
yeah,
first book by Brenda Butler and Dot Street,
oh wow,
Sky Crash, and then there was another book, and then another. Now I think there's 10, 15 books on that case,
yeah,
hundreds of witnesses, the Halt memo, uh, lots of witnesses, lots and lots. It's an absolutely authentic case.
yeah. It's just yeah, I just want to go. Believe aliens, angels, and spirits are one and the same. There could be, and we just don't really know, do we?
Um, well, yeah, I think that there is a lot of stuff being put under the UFO umbrella that isn't necessarily UFOs. And I caution people against saying, Bigfoot, ghosts, angels, demons, and aliens, and all this stuff is the same thing. I don't think it is. I think these are separate phenomena. There are some researchers who feel like this is a intelligence that's wearing different masks and manifests in different ways.
Yeah.
And as near as I can tell, there are extraordinary commonalities between like an NDE, a near-death experience, and being taken on board.
Wow.
But no, they're not the same thing. I think some of the cases of angels in the past were probably UFOs. I think some of the
Yeah.
people who are being visited by aliens, a glowing being comes into the room and healing them, might be an angel. The evidence for angels is very compelling. There are spirits out there which are not human as we would think of it, angelic
Yeah.
or demonic. There's a lot of paranormal phenomena, and a lot of this stuff is being mislabeled and conflated. And I'm not sure it's the same thing. I'm a big believer that ETs are ETs. This is my assessment based on the
Yeah.
evidence. It is the number one explanation among contactees and investigators for the majority of UFO accounts because it accounts for the evidence
Yeah.
the best. But not every case is going to be ETs. Some of it could be a trickster spirit, a
Well,
jinn,
yeah, that's
you
right.
know, uh,
Met
uh,
those before.
these sort of things. So poltergeists are. I've done ghost hunting. I've
Oh,
done
I don't
research.
know. I don't know about poltergeist if it's like just people's energy causing it, telekinetic, whatever,
Yeah,
which is what I've
I'm,
caused. I've caused things to happen. I know
um,
that.
yeah, I think a lot of poltergeist. Not all. I think some are probably malevolent spirits, but I think
Yeah, just having a
some of
laugh.
it is basically uncontrolled mediumship in the presence of a a child often who has these abilities and is somewhat disturbed and is dissociating to a certain degree. There's this very prominent patterns in some of these poltergeist hauntings, which makes it clear that it is related to mediumship. There's the
Yeah,
case
that's it.
of Matthew Manning, a very famous case from England, I think it was,
Wow.
who had horrible poltergeist outbreaks and eventually became a medium. And just that's what it was. He had very strong mediumistic abilities, which were not being, channeled in the correct way.
Yeah, that's it.
But
I
yeah,
love this question from Tony. Are you a reincarnated alien?
yeah, I think I might be. I'm just
There's
going to say,
potential, isn't there?
and the reason I say this is because, I'll just preface this by saying, yeah, I came into this field skeptical, didn't believe in past lives, but started having out-of-body experiences. And anyone who's had repeated out-of-body experiences or any contactees will probably tell you about some past life recall, which I have had.
Wow.
And I do remember some past lives. I'm assuming that's what is going on here.
Yeah, that's it. We don't 100%
yeah.
know, but
And this is all
yeah,
very
that's
personal.
awesome.
Each person has their own recall. You can't prove this to anybody. It's all very personal. But yeah, I've had some recall of being an ET. And sorry about that.
It's all right. I've had my bird, I've had my dog. I've had my dog growling at something unknown.
I'm having work done in the house.
Bless you. But no, thank you for your time. It's brilliant.
Yeah, and I went to a channeler once, Daryl Anka of Bashar. And he's like, oh, yeah, you had a past life. I was an alien.
Wow.
I'm like, oh. And I went to another channel, and he said the same thing. And I went to a third channeler, and she said the same thing. So I'm like, wow.
That's awesome.
That's weird. They all said the same thing.
Yeah, magic. That's started cropping up quite a lot. How about spirit communication? Have you still got time? Are you fine?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay.
I would like to address what Michael said before spirit communication, because people are taking on board UFOs, and it can be very strange, symbolic.
Yeah.
I've had people see couches and carpets and, religious figures and just stuff that seems like maybe this isn't even ET. Well, the fact is they have the ability to transform their ships into something that makes you comfortable. And people have told me this, like, well, there was a couch there. It looked like my living room. They will do that to sort of reduce the fear factor. They can put on an appearance of a human being when it's really a gray. And it can be profoundly symbolic, and it can be profoundly reflecting your own belief system. And this is, I think, one thing that has caused some researchers to say, oh, this is interdimensional. This is maybe not aliens. No, they can do this and will do this.
Yeah.
And as far as spirit communication, yeah, we've touched on this already. ETs have spirits as well. I mean, they are physical beings. They die. There are such things as ET spirits.
Oh my God.
And
I didn't even consider that one. Yeah.
And people have been taken on board a UFO and actually seen spirits, have seen deceased loved ones. I've got a few cases, not a lot.
Oh my God.
One or two, really, almost statistically insignificant.
So then with oh dear, my dog's hassling me now. So Dolly then, did she, I don't want to sort of spoil anything, but did Dolly see any past lives of aliens up there? ETs?
Oh yeah. Yep, she certainly did. That was something she told me after I talked to another contactee who told me this. I talked to a contactee who had contact with gray ETs and reached out to one of the grays and had a long telepathic conversation with this gray. And she said, why did you contact me? And they said, well, we are very interested in your emotions. We are very interested in your physicality. We are not quite as physical as you. We did take your genetics. She said, are you my kid? And he said, no, but I do have your genetics in me. And she said, are you going to take over our planet? And they said, no, we have no interest in taking over your planet. You guys are
I don't think so.
You've polluted your planet. It's far
Oh,
too
God.
crowded. You're very emotional. We have a hard time being around you because of your negativity. There are plenty of other planets out there. So she had this long, really interesting conversation, and later tried to reach out again, and instead ended up contacting ET spirits, the spirits of the children that she had
Oh, gosh.
helped to produce but did not survive.
Wow.
And
I want to read this book. Can you say the name of the book? Is that okay or not?
I haven't revealed it yet.
Okay, just share it onto my page when you do reveal that.
All right. I'm hesitant to
don't say
reveal it,
anything.
but I will the second I'm ready to, it gets published and
Oh, that's
move forward.
awesome. Yeah.
But I do have a good title. Dolly actually picked the title.
Oh, awesome.
So yeah, we've talked about this. I'm a little hesitant to reveal it yet.
No, I don't want to make
because
no, definitely not.
Someone might take it. It's a good title.
God, yeah, that's right. Yeah, but I want to thank you for your time. This has been absolutely brilliant. It really has. So sort of interesting, intriguing, and I just want to go out and sort of troll books and the internet and just try and get more and more info. Definitely buy some of your books as well, because I just want to know some stuff.
Thanks, Jacqueline. It's been brilliant talking to you too.
I have actually found out that my best friend's husband really loves UFOs, and so I know what to buy him for Christmas. Of your books as well. But yeah, this has been brilliant. Thank you so much. But yeah,
my pleasure. Yeah, definitely look forward to doing it again sometime.
You know what? If you want to, yeah, I'm up for that. Because we've not covered anything, have we?
No, I didn't get to talk at all about the healing cases.
No. Oh, there's just so much which hasn't been covered. Thanks, AJ Walker. But yeah, thank you so much. This has been so cool. Wow, mind blowing. But yeah, loved it. But thanks everyone for watching, taking part, joining in the chat, asking questions, and Preston, thank you so much. And your books are available on Amazon, are they?
Yes.
That's cool. And also YouTube as well. Is it under your name, Preston?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Just punch my name in. It'll take you there. My YouTube channel. I'm on Facebook and Twitter. And got a website as well. So.
Oh, that's brilliant. But I'll try and put a link to everything in the title of this show so that you'll actually find more should you want to, read the books from Preston. But yeah, but this has been absolutely awesome, and thank you so much, and thanks for all your kind comments. So good night, everyone. Have a good afternoon, a good day, good morning, wherever you are in the world. But thank you so much, and thank you, Preston.
Thank you, Michael, Dolly, Andy. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Thanks.